As you can see, it is officially the rainy season here in BC, and it makes working on the different projects out here a little bit more tricky. So I just wanted to provide a little bit of an update. A sneaky little thing that I did. I gained access to a shipping container that's been retrofitted as a storage unit. It does mean that because it's a shipping container, I don't want to do everything that is involved in projects inside the shipping container. I don't really want to have gasoline in there or really any fluids of any kind, just because there's no proper ventilation, at least not forced ventilation. But just as a quick little update before I talk about the road trip that's coming up in April, I thought I would show you guys what I've done. So follow me. So, as you can see, it's a little bit noisier in here with the rain. There is some ventilation holes, so it's not like I'm completely sealed in here, but I still think it's pretty important that I play it smart and not have any projects in here that actually have gasoline, solvents, those kinds of things in here. But the big step for the Suzuki right now is I finally got this part in. So this was ordered from the Czech Republic. It is a programmable CDI from Ignitec in the Czech Republic. They were a great company to kind of go back and forth with. This is the old CDI. It's clearly not in very good condition. And then sadly, the previous person who had the Suzuki that I bought it from attempted to use this Yamaha CDI, which does not have any of the same fittings, and so it didn't work, number one, and they mangled some of the wiring. So I do have to redo some of the wiring harness to actually make this work, but I'm going to take some time in here. It's a lot more comfortable in here to actually work. Because I'm out of the rain, I don't have to worry about that small amount of space that I have in my yard that the balcony goes over. And then the actual other frames are out of the rain, so they're not going to get constantly rained on. The engine turned out to not be any good. I am looking at selling this 450 frame. There's not really much that I'm going to be able to do with it, at least not currently. And we're looking at the possibility of leaving BC. So it's just one more thing to kind of keep dragging around that I'm not likely to actually do much with, but we'll see what happens with that. I do like having it around and looking at it. It's got quite a unique look and style to it. So hopefully someone that has some plans with it and knows what they might want to do with something like that will pick it up off me. Otherwise, I'll keep it. What a shame. That's the update for now from the actual project standpoint. There's what's the other parts of the Suzuki. There's most of the wiring bits for the Suzuki. And the primary thing is that we want to figure out if this engine is actually any good. So we know it's not seized. Obviously, it cycles over. It's not seized or anything like that. There does appear to be compression because that has some resistance to it. So I'm still optimistic about the engine. I just really need to confirm that there's actually something there and it'll boot up. So that was the point in finally getting the CDI in. We'll program it, get it hooked up to the wiring harness, hook everything else back up. Once we fix some of the mangled wiring harness that the previous person left me with. But if all goes well, that project is still in good nick, and we will see some progress on the Suzuki. The other thing that I wanted to talk about in today's video is the trip that I have planned. So I mentioned in my previous video that I'm hopefully doing a trip in April, so next month. Just waiting for my Canadian passport to get in. I left that a little too late, so we'll see if that delays my trip or if Canada sticks to their time frame and gets me that passport back in a reasonable amount of time. But I guess the biggest thing is, other than wanting to show you guys the route that I'm planning to take, it's about 3,000 kilometers over 3 days to get down to Arizona, and then 3,000 kilometers back up. There's also been some pretty big updates to Kurviger, which is the kind of planning, mapping app and platform that I've been using. And something really exciting that it does require a paid subscription, but it's like, 15 bucks a year. And I genuinely think it's worth it. This isn't a paid endorsement in any way, but it's just a great platform to use, and I really encourage people to do it. So I'm going to showcase a couple of those features real quick and show you guys the route that I'm thinking, but that's it. So garage, we can call it a garage. I'm going to call it my garage, and the trip for next month. So let's get back to the computer and I can show you guys what I'm thinking.
So it has clearly taken me a lot longer to put any of this together. Pretty sure I said not once, not twice, but probably 3 times in that video that I was mentioning a trip next month in April. And if any of us look at our watches right now, it's pretty obvious that it's already April. I actually leave on my trip tomorrow. So it's just been a little chaotic, but I do want to make this short and sweet. So I'd like to quickly just jump into Kurviger, the route that I'm planning to take for this trip coming up tomorrow. And one of the coolest aspects about the new features that Kurviger has with their route planning that I have been waiting for quite a long time for someone to implement, and they've done it, and it's amazing. So let me just jump into it real quick. All right, so for anyone who hasn't used Kurviger in the past, it's a route planning and navigation app that I find to be just awesome. Again, this isn't a paid promotion or anything. I've just been using Kurviger for years. I started with Scenic back in the day, but the gentleman that developed Scenic only supports iPhones. Turns out when I was looking into the actual development of Scenic, he uses the API through Kurviger anyway. So you're getting the same mapping results by using Kurviger, and you're actually supporting the people who are putting all the work into the app itself. So one of the cool features that I found now, you can save your trips right here into Kurviger, which is great, just for the sake of planning and being able to kind of plan multiple trips or multiple route options in the future. The biggest thing, before I quickly talk about the route that I'm taking now, is that when we go to plan and we expand our waypoints, we now have the option of setting our preferences by leg rather than across the entire trip. So previously, you really only had these options here. You could go fastest route, fast and curvy route, extra curvy, or this allows us now to play around with seeing multiple options on the screen, kind of like when Google Maps recommends an alternative route and you can kind of see both on the screen at the same time. So that's a neat little feature. But the most important thing, I think, for planning routes itself is there are certain areas, for example, here, when I'm crossing the border with the United States, where you have to go onto highways. That's just, it's a requirement. There's no alternate route. There isn't, at least not in our neck of the woods. Another issue that I ran into with this in the past was crossing the Mississippi. So the Mississippi also tends to not have routes that are considered anything but interstates that actually cross them. They might not be very wide. They might not be very big roads, single lane, but it is considered for the purposes of probably funding and everything else that the crossings are considered actual interstates or highways. And it makes it very difficult if you're trying to, for example, when I was looking to cross the Mississippi down here towards Baton Rouge, there is a spot, I believe up near Greenville or Vicksburg, where you can cross on a bridge that is not considered to be an interstate. And so when you don't select fastest route or you don't allow for highways, you've set your preferences to avoid highways. If we see here, avoid motorways, then it's going to end up routing you several hundred kilometers or miles out of your way in order to accomplish the same trip. And it makes it so that previously you had to, map yourself all the way to that location, save that map, and then create a second route that starts after that location moving forward, assuming that you wanted to avoid motorways like I do for most of your trip. So this awesome feature now allows you to set any two particular waypoints, and then between these two waypoints, I can have a customized preference for what the trip should look for, or what routes the app should look for. So I think that's amazing. It's an awesome feature. It makes planning these trips so much easier now, in terms of being able to see the entire trip all at once. So without further ado, this is the route that I'm planning for tomorrow, starting tomorrow. So the first day will be from Squamish. Got to get across the border, which that's always uncertain. You don't really know how long that's going to take. But as you can see, the entire trip is almost 2,800 kilometers. That means they're almost 1,000 kilometers per day. And it's going to be a heavy days of riding. That's for sure. I like those, but it always brings in the concern of whether or not you're going to make it to your destination in a reasonable amount of time, or if you're going to end up driving late into the night. So that's the trip that I have planned. It might be biting off a little bit more than I can chew, because I haven't done a trip like this in now 3 years because of COVID. I'm significantly in worse shape than I was when COVID started. So this is going to be a test of both myself and Malls. And fingers crossed that nothing horrific goes wrong. I've done all the maintenance that I would normally do prior to a trip. Mall seems to be operating as good as one might expect for a motorcycle that's older than me, and has seen damn near 100,000 kilometers already with that engine and that frame. But I'm excited. And I've been really needing something like this for a while. It feels weird to have done so many for so many years and it be a consistent thing. The only thing that feels a little odd about it is really not getting back to South Carolina. That has been one of my included destinations for all my trips. It's where I grew up. But my brother is flying out to Arizona, so yeah, there's that kind of serves the purpose of normally going to South Carolina. So yeah, I will keep everyone posted on the trip. I'm going to do my best to record the trip like I usually do, hopefully be a little bit more creative with it this time, plan things out a little bit more. I have a drone that I can legally fly in the United States, so I'm intending to make use of that. And with any luck, there will be some neat videos coming out about the trip down there and the trip back. But otherwise, if you guys haven't already, check out Kurviger. It's amazing. The fees that it costs to actually use the planning services or use the Pro app that allows you to do voice navigation and step-by-step navigation on the road is fantastic, and I really, really strongly recommend it. So that's the trip that I got planned. I appreciate you guys checking it out. I will hopefully have some updates for you along the way. And until then, ride safe and ride fun, and I will see you on the next video.